Hello and welcome back, future scientists. I'm Mr. K with Mississippi Public Broadcasting, and we're going to continue our lesson on the cell cycle today. In the past couple lessons, we've been talking about interphase and the different types of DNA, the different structures that the DNA takes on throughout the cell cycle. Today we're moving on to something called mitosis. Now, mitosis is a very complicated part of the cell cycle. Today I'm just going to kind of introduce it. We'll look at some pictures. I'll kind of give you an overview of what's going on, and when I see y'all next time, we'll take the deep dive and get into all the complicated details. So today, just hang in there with me. We're going to kind of do an overview of mitosis, and then we'll hop in and get into some more detail the next time I see y'all. So let's see what's going on today. So mitosis is the second phase of the cell cycle. Remember that the longest and first part is called interphase. When interphase is over, we move into this part called mitosis. What is mitosis? Mitosis is the nucleus dividing into two separate nuclei. Okay? Each nucleus is going to receive an identical set of chromosome that matches the original cell. This process includes 4 different stages, and those stages are called prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And for that, just remember the acronym PMAT. If you can remember that, you can remember these 4 different parts of mitosis. Okay? So mitosis is the division of the nucleus, and it results in 2 new identical nuclei. Okay, so what's been going on up until this point? Throughout interphase, the cell grows, it makes extra DNA, it makes extra organelles, and it makes structures that we need to divide. Well, now we're ready to divide. And so that's what's happening in mitosis. Mitosis is dividing the nucleus, and then once we're kind of wrapping up with getting the nucleus divided, we'll divide the actual cell. Okay, so mitosis, this is not a long part of the cell cycle, but it is kind of a complicated part of the cell cycle. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Again, here are the 4 different stages of mitosis. Just remember PMAT, and that'll help you remember these 4 different parts: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Now, you need to be able to put these in the correct order, but honestly, that's the easy part. The hard part is remembering what's happening in each of these different phases. So that's kind of what I'm mostly going to be talking about today, and we'll get into a lot more detail on that when I see y'all next time. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first part. This is the first part of metaphase. It's called prophase. On the left, I have an animal cell, and on the right, left is the plant cell, and right is the animal cell. Okay, so prophase is the longest part of mitosis. It's so long that sometimes they divide this into an early prophase and a late prophase. So sometimes they divide these into different parts. There's a couple different things that are happening in prophase. So I'm going to go ahead and rattle those off for you real quick. Okay, so during prophase, the nucleus and the nucleolus, as well as the nuclear membrane, all dissolves. So look at the picture on the left. Do you see a circle in the middle of this cell? I do. And so that means that this is on the left, the plant cell. That's early prophase. The nucleus has not fully dissolved here, okay? It's still kind of intact. You can kind of still see that circle. Look at the picture on the right. Where all those X's are, that's the nucleus, and you'll notice that the nucleus is like dashed lines. It's not a solid line, and that's supposed to show us that the nucleus is dissolving here. Okay, some other things that happens is that chromatin starts to condense into chromosomes. Okay, so if you see X's, like the picture on the right, that tells you that you have to be in at least prophase. You might be farther than that, but that's when this structure happens. You start off in chromatin during interphase, and then in prophase, that chromatin starts to condense into chromosomes. Okay, and then lastly, these centrioles, those are the little yellow things in this picture right here. These are centrioles. They start to move to opposite ends of the cell. Okay, so 3 or 4 different things happening in prophase. The nucleus disappears, the chromatin condenses into chromosomes, and then these centrioles start to move to opposite poles, and you'll see why that's happening here in just a second. So again, prophase is kind of the longest and maybe the most difficult part of mitosis. So after prophase, once that's happened, we'll move into the next part of mitosis. The next one is metaphase. Here's a word I want you to remember. For metaphase, just remember the word middle. Okay, middle and metaphase both start with the letter M. What's going on here is those centrioles that I talked about, they have these long microtubules coming off of them. They connect to the chromosomes and they line the chromosomes up in the equator of the cell, or the middle of the cell. So look at both of the pictures on the left. Again, in the blue is a plant cell and the pink is an animal cell. You can see that those chromosomes are in the middle of the cell. If you see a structure that looks like that, where it looks like all of them are lined up along the middle, you know that the cell is in metaphase, okay? After metaphase, once we get the cells perfectly in the middle, we're going to start pulling them apart. And that's actually the word I want you to remember for this. Anaphase, this is the next part of mitosis, and there's kind of two words here that would be good to remember. Either away or apart. So look at these pictures on the left. To me, I can kind of tell that these chromosomes are moving away from each other, right? It looks like someone's dragging them apart. And so if you see a picture that looks like this, or even the one on the far right, that kind of drawing of it, you can see that these microtubules, those blue lines, are pulling the chromosomes apart from one another, okay? That's a very important step because this is how we're ensuring that each new cell is getting the correct amount of chromosomes in it, okay? So we've done prophase, metaphase, and anaphase. Let's talk about telophase real quick and see what's going on here. This is the last part of mitosis. The stage is called telophase, and for this I would just remember the word two, because what's happening here, if you look at this picture, you can start to see that you're actually seeing two different cells now. It's easier to see that happening, okay? On the left, that plant cell, it's going to get a line in the middle, okay? That's called a cell plate. In this picture on the far right, instead of a cell plate, you can see that it looks like the cells are kind of pinching in the middle. That's called a cleavage furrow. And so what's happening here in telophase is it actually looks like you have two new cells. There are a couple of different things that happens in telophase. So telophase is the reverse of prophase. Remember, in prophase, the nucleus disappeared, the microtubules, the centrioles moved to opposite poles, and the chromatin condensed into chromosomes. All of that gets reversed in this phase. Once the cell starts to look like it's actually two separate cells, those things get reversed. So now the nucleus is going to come back, the chromosomes are going to start to relax into chromatin, and the centrioles here are going to not be activated like they have been, okay? So the last part, this is kind of happening in conjunction or at the same time as telophase. The last part of the cell cycle is called cytokinesis. Mitosis is division of the nucleus. Cytokinesis is division of the cytoplasm. And so what's happening here is on the left, that's my plant cell. We get that cell plate. You see that dark line in the middle in between the two nuclei? That cell plate is dividing this cell completely into two new cells. So plant cells get a cell plate. It's a little bit harder to tell what's going on in this right picture over here. Instead of getting a cell plate where it's just right in the middle, these cells start to kind of pinch off and then drag away. So this one gets the cell plate and this one starts to pinch off, okay? And that's called a cleavage furrow. But that's the last part of the cell cycle, is this cytokinesis. Okay, so y'all, great work following along with me. I know that was a little confusing. I have a little worksheet I'm gonna do with y'all real quick to get some more practice. So teacher, why don't you go ahead, pass that sheet out to everybody. Y'all take 5 or 10 minutes. A lot of the stuff in that worksheet is stuff I was just talking about. Take a couple minutes, see what y'all can come up with, and then when y'all wanna review, come back to me. You can unpause the video and I'll kind of review it with y'all, okay? Great, let's see what y'all came up with. So what we're really going on here is there's a couple of pictures up top, and these are asking you to kind of label which picture is which different phase. If you remember some of those key words I gave you during the lecture, this might have been a little bit easier, but I'm gonna go ahead and review it with y'all just in case anyone's a little bit confused. So make sure to add or change anything you don't have, and then that way you can take this home and kind of study it on your own time if you want a little bit more review. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So number one here is saying cells A and D show an early and a late stage of the same phase of mitosis. What phase is it? Does anyone remember what the longest phase of mitosis is? And I think I specifically said that it has an early and a late phase. Well, this is known as prophase. And let's just take a second and talk about the different pictures. So it's saying A and D. So D actually comes first. What's going on here is that the chromosomes have not condensed yet, so the DNA is still in the form of chromatin, and you only see one centriole. They haven't moved to opposite ends of the cell yet, okay? Also, what's going to happen during this phase is the nucleus is going to start to break down. So D would be early prophase, A would be a later prophase, and A, I can actually start to see those chromosomes, so they've started to condense a little bit, and those centrioles are moving to opposite ends of the cell, and that's going to help us divide the chromosomes correctly, okay? So 2. This one's saying which cell is in metaphase. Okay, I gave y'all a really important word to remember for metaphase. Does anyone remember what that word was? You might remember that I told you to remember middle. So to me, I think C is going to be metaphase, and it's because I can tell all the chromosomes are in the middle. When they're lined up in the middle like that, that means that it's in metaphase, okay? Great work, let's keep it going. 3 says, which cell is in the first phase of mitosis? So which cell is in the first phase of mitosis? Well, we just talked about how A and D are both prophase, and that D probably came first. So D's in early prophase. So D is a good answer to put here, but I think you could put A too, because early prophase, late prophase, they're both the same phase of mitosis, so really either one there is going to be perfect. Okay, 4 says, in cell A, what structure is labeled X? Well, that is the centriole. Okay, centriole are these little barrel-like structures. They have the microtubules coming off of them that attach to the chromosomes, and that helps us divide the chromosomes into the correct cells. So each of those that X is pointing to there, those are centrioles, okay? 5 says, place the diagrams in order from first to last. Okay, well, we already know the order of 2 of these because I said that D is early prophase and then A is late prophase. Okay, so that's the P part done, but now we have to get all the other steps done. Remember that the steps of mitosis is PMAT. So prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. We've already done prophase with DNA, so what's the next one going to be? Well, I think letter C is metaphase, so that's going to be our next one. Okay, so we've done P and M. The next part is going to be anaphase. Which picture here looks like it might be anaphase, where the chromosomes look like they're moving away from each other? To me, I'm thinking letter E. Okay, so E is anaphase. The chromosomes are being pulled apart, and that's to ensure that each cell is getting the correct amount of chromosomes. Great work. So we just have 2 left here. It's F and B. We have to decide which one has come first out of these 2. Okay? Well, to me, it looks like this one's actually a little tricky, but I think we're going to go with F. And then B is going to be the last one. What's going on here is that F, we're pulling those chromosomes apart, and then B, we're actually starting to do that cytokinesis, dividing the cytoplasm into 2 new cells. Okay, great work. All right, let's go to the next one. 6, what are the cells depicted plant or animal cells? Explain your answer. So it's asking all of these cells up here, do we think they're plant cells or animal cells? Well, these are definitely animal cells. Y'all might remember from our first unit the difference in between plant and animal cells. Plant cells tend to be very geometric, like they're either going to be a square or a rectangle, and animal cells don't really have that super geometric shape. They kind of tend to be more amorphous. But another way we can tell is that this right here is a cleavage furrow. It looks like it's being pinched in instead of that really thick cell wall. So either of those is going to be fine. Let's just write that this is an animal cell and plant cells are square. Sometimes they're square, sometimes they're more rectangular shaped, but these are not geometric like that. Okay, so 7, what is the longest phase of the entire cell cycle? So right now we're talking about mitosis, but 7's asking what's the longest phase of the entire cell cycle? And this is interphase, okay? Interphase is the longest part. Okay, and then the last one here, 8, why is mitosis important? Well, there's a lot of different reasons here. Mitosis is how we divide the chromosomes correctly. It's how we ensure that there's no mutation in between new cells. It's how your body grows. Because it's asking about mitosis and mitosis's division of the nucleus, I think we should talk about DNA or chromosomes here. So I'm going to put that. It makes sure cells get the correct DNA. Okay? We really want to make sure those cells have the right DNA in it so they have directions to follow and they can do what they need to. So y'all, thanks so much for following along with me. Your teacher has some other work on Canvas for you to work on. Make sure to give that your best effort. Thanks for making it today, and I hope everybody has a great day.